So let's set the stage for this video. I think storytelling is very, very important. I'm not very good at storytelling. There's a lot of Pokemon content creators who are way better than me at storytelling. But when it comes to understanding a set, and when it comes to Pokemon card collecting, or whether you're a store owner, or even a competitive player, even just a casual player, like, it's really important to understand the storyline of a set release because it impacts a lot of different factors. There's a lot of different impacts that follow along the storyline. So if we rewind time just 1 year, if we just go back 1 year, there was a set that came out that really kind of changed things up for the Scarlet and Violet block. And that was this set right here, Scarlet and Violet 151. It's hard to believe that this set is already 1 year old, well, almost 1 year old. I believe its official release day was September 22nd of 2023, so just about a year, a week from today when we're recording this video. It will be officially 1 year since this set has released. But there's already openings that were happening and things like that for the set. I remember vending the Pokemon regional event in Peoria, Illinois, and Scarlet and Violet 151 had just come out, and it was a huge hit at the event. There was a lot of people who really wanted to collect Scarlet and Violet 151 amongst the collectors, amongst the players. Like, it really united the Pokemon community together because it was a throwback. It was all nostalgia. It was so cool to see all these illustrationers and special illustrationers of some of the favorite artworks that a lot of people got back into Pokemon from, which was really neat. But there was also a Mew EX that came out that was super competitive. Outside of that Mew EX, there wasn't a whole lot in the set. Some could argue the Charizard, but for the most part, there wasn't a ton in Scarlet and Violet 151 that really impacted the meta outside of that Mew EX. But it really kind of saved the Scarlet and Violet generation because the block was not doing very well. There was a lot of anticipation and hype when Scarlet and Violet base came out because a lot of people were really excited to chase the special illustration rares, but they ended up doing pull rates where it was 2 per box, and all of a sudden the chase didn't really feel like much of a hunt anymore for a lot of Pokemon card collectors. And what happened is they ended up going back to Sword and Shield. They focused on alternate arts and things like that, and then Paldea Evolved came out, and a lot of people were excited about Paldea Evolved, but it was a much bigger set that kind of impacted things a little bit. And then Obsidian Flames came out, and people were like, well, this is no different than Darkness Ablaze. This is just a Charizard set. It's a very small set. It was easy to master. And then finally Scarlet and Violet 151 came out, and a lot of people got really excited. They saw what it did in Japan. Pokemon 151 was nuts in Japan. It was selling for triple MSRP before it even released, and it seemed like Scarlet and Violet 151 could not come at a better time because it was loaded with products. There was a ton of stuff that came out, the Ultra Premium collections, the Elite Trainer boxes, and there was enough product that it satisfied demand. There was so much product that was out there, and if you remember, if you rewind time 1 year, the Elite Trainer boxes did satisfy demand. We weren't worried about scalping or anything like that, and the Ultra Premium collection was abundant. Like, there was a ton of them, and there were different releases of the Ultra Premium collection where there were additional print runs that just kind of kept coming out. And it was, I remember when the Peoria regional happened, we had a lot of Ultra Premium collections at the time, and we got back, and there was an additional wave that was basically waiting for us as soon as we got back. And because of that, the Ultra Premium collection was able to be very cheap. It was cheap for a long time. It was sub $100 heading into the holidays. And that's really what Pokemon needed to do because there was so much excitement about the set as we moved into the holiday season and people buying Pokemon cards as Christmas gifts and things like that. It was still cheap, right? You could still find Ultra Premium collections for $90, $95. They were being sold at Costco and at Sam's Club and all these different retailers for under MSRP, and it was great. And since then, Scarlet and Violet 151 has just continued to inch upwards, and like it keeps going up and up and up because the demand just does not seem satisfied. Scarlet and Violet 151 is going to be a great set for a very long time, especially when it comes to sealed. This is going to be a set that people are going to love to open for years down the road because I don't think Pokemon, at least not in the near future, is ever going to print a complete tribute back to the original 151. They may do something. It would be awesome if they did something like this for the Johto region and moving forward with additional regions. However, they're not going to do it again with the original 151. Like, it's just not going to happen anytime soon. And because of that, people are going to want, that little taste. They're going to want to continue to have that. And with supply continuing to diminish, even with continuous restocks, and we get restocks all the time, it seems, at big box retailers. Like Best Buy just had booster bundles on sale. Pokemon Center just had booster bundles on sale, and they go so fast. And I know some of them probably go to unfortunate situations where they get turned for a profit and things like that, but they are put up there frequently. And you can still go to Target, you can still go to Walmart, and if you catch a restock at a decent time, you might still see some 151 product out there, which is great. But we still haven't gotten like a full-fledged reprint or anything like that. Now, I still believe we are going to, and from the sound of things, it does sound like there is going to be additional stock that comes in a couple months, at least in the form of booster bundles. But there's just not enough out there right now to continuously satisfy demand like what there was at the beginning for the first 3, 4, 5 months, somewhere around there. So even though there's not a ton of competitive cards in the set, and if you look at how the meta is shifting right now, Mew EX still a very important card, but if you look outside of that, like Giovanni's Charisma had a little bit of an impact at Worlds, and that's kind of seeing a little bit of a bump. There's a lot more of stuff, there's a lot more cards, there's a lot more sealed product that is naturally progressing in the upward direction just because the demand is there and the supply is not. And unless we get a massive reprint that's really going to shake up the market, it's just going to continue to climb and climb and climb. Now, hopefully, by the end of the year, we will have more stuff, we will have more product, which will slow down this consistent climb, but it remains to be seen, right? And if we look, we're going to flip you guys around so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. It has just been absolutely nuts how much Scarlet and Violet 151 has increased since release. So here's the Elite Trainer box right here. This is just the normal Elite Trainer box, and you can see quantities being sold every day, every week. There is a decent amount of quantity, and it continues to go up. So this is showing that the demand is still there. Even if you look in the middle of summer, around May, around June, much less quantity being sold at that point in time where there's only 10, 15 ETBs maybe being sold. And at that time, we can kind of explain that a little bit, right? There was a lot more focus on illustration rares, special illustration rares, alternate arts. A lot of the money, a lot of the funding when it comes to Pokemon was being spent on all of that. And Scarlet and Violet 151 was kind of getting lost in the shuffle. And then all of a sudden, August hit, and now it's starting to go up higher and higher and higher. And you can see in the middle of August, this was moving up to 80 to 90 to 100 Elite Trainer boxes that were selling on a weekly basis on TCG Player. Now, it's backed off a little bit, but because of that, it's continuously climbed. And we can see a low point of $55.17, which is just barely above MSRP. That was in March of 2024, and it just continued to climb really over the past 6 months. So now it's sitting at $75.25. Remember, you only get 9 booster packs in Scarlet and Violet 151. This is the first set, the first specialty set where you only get 9 booster packs instead of 10 booster packs, because this is the first specialty set of the Scarlet and Violet block, and they changed things up when they changed MSRP around with Scarlet and Violet 151, but now continuing to trend in the upward direction. We have not really heard a ton of information regarding a reprint involving Elite Trainer boxes, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this performs moving forward. And we could get more at the end of the year, don't get me wrong. Like, I fully believe that it's more than possible that Pokemon reprints and restocks a ton of Scarlet and Violet era product. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Scarlet and Violet 151, Obsidian Flames, Twilight Masquerade, Paldea Evolve, because these are all going to be in competitive play for a year and a half yet. They're going to be around for a long time, and people are going to need access to these cards. But Scarlet and Violet 151 continuing to trend in the upward direction. We've heard about booster bundles getting restocked and reprinted, but not a whole lot of noise about the Elite Trainer box. Here's the Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer box, and they did restock this as well a few months after the set released, and you can see in March of 2024, it's sitting at $95.27, but what it's done since then, over 40% growth over the last 6 months, and again, strong quantities being sold every single week. So it's not like demand has shifted at all. Demand has continued to stay consistent. Even in May, when we dropped down to about 10 selling in a week, you still had flashes of time, weeks of time, where you're selling 15 to 20 on a weekly basis, even in August of 2024, months later. So it continues to climb because demand continues to be there. Now it's sitting at 143.91 and continuing to grow in the upward direction. Here's that Ultra Premium collection that we were talking about before, and shelves got flooded with the Ultra Premium collection. It was like the Charizard UPC all over again, where people thought, okay, well, is this ever going to climb up? You had TikTok sales where you could find these for $70, $80 all over the place, and we talked about that on this channel, but over the past 6 months, now it has really started to gain a lot of momentum, and you're looking at almost 30% growth over the past 6 months, which is absolutely insane. It was down to $104 in April of 2024. That's $16 below MSRP, and it's just kept going going up since then. And again, quantities continuing to remain consistent. Actually, quantities, if you follow the graph right here, they have continued to climb over the past 6 months. Part of that is because there is 16 packs in here. I think it's 16 packs, but you also get that Mew EX special art rare, special illustration rare that really is starting to climb a little bit too. It's the Sunset Mew. It's very cool looking, but the Ultra Premium Collection continuing to climb to new heights, sitting at 142.27 right now, and still trending in the upward direction. Here's the booster bundle that we were talking about before, and this one's been very up and down since release, and this is the best bang for your buck. You're supposed to be able to buy these for like $26 or something like that. You get 6 packs. It basically breaks down to about $4.50 for MSRP for each pack, but that's never really happened. Let's face it, like if you don't find the restocks right when they happen, unfortunately, it just, like, even Amazon had these restock recently for that $27 price tag, but they move so quick, and part of that is because of resellers, but part of that is just because of overall demand. And you can see that demand right here in August of 2024, because they did get restocked and immediately got put out on TCG Player, and then people started buying up quantities right away. It was a race to the bottom, but they knew they were going to profit, and because of that, we saw 200, 300 booster bundles selling on a weekly basis throughout the end of August there. But you can see in May of 2024, not selling as much there, sitting at $35.21, but then started climbing quite a bit, hit $48.92 in August. Then we had those restocks happen, and then it was a race to the bottom to try and sell those restocks right away. Quantities went way up as far as sales go, and now it's dropped a little bit to $42.24, but that's still about $7 per booster pack, and because of that, you're still looking at about 15% growth over the past 6 months when it comes to the booster bundle. So still not enough supply out there to meet demand when it comes to that. Here's the binder collection right here, which we were talking about before. This one doing extremely well also, almost up 22.5% over the past 6 months. Not as many quantities being sold in March, April, May, and June, but then when August hit, it really started to shift a little bit, and people started utilizing other collection boxes, like the binder collection, the poster collection, the pin collection, places like that, because they just wanted packs. They just wanted packs to be able to crack. In May of 2024, this was sitting at $36.51, started climbing quite a bit, and in June of 2024, it was sitting at $46.21. It did back off a little bit and then rebounded right away. So sitting at $45.92 currently and continuing to trend upward. Here is that booster pack that we were talking about before. It's just been very natural, very organic as far as the growth goes over the past 6 months. Very, very normal when it comes to the amount of booster packs that have been sold, with the exception of this slight blip here in June where you had 1 week where there was over 800 booster packs that sold, which was very out of the norm. Usually you're seeing between 300 and 400 booster packs that are sold. This week right here, we had a situation where there was over double. So maybe a little bit of stuff going on at that point in time, but for the most part, very consistent, which shows demand still being there even at $7 per booster pack, which is insane. $5.93 was its low point, which it hit in March of 2024, but it's just been naturally progressing since then, sitting at $7.05 right now, which is just off of its 6-month high of $7.05, about 19% growth over the past 6 months. But again, we expect to see more come. We expect to see more Scarlet and Violet 151 booster packs coming out, but I don't know, again, is there going to be enough to satisfy the demand? That's the struggle right now. Here's the Snorlax, and this is the Pokemon Center exclusive Snorlax. So this is found in the Elite Trainer box that you buy on the Pokemon Center website. Now it's sold out. We saw that before, and because of that Pokemon Center exclusive ETB continuously going up, but so is the promo that came inside it. So the Snorlax Elite Trainer box promo, $35.70, and the only difference between this one and the normal Elite Trainer box is this little stamp right here that says Pokemon Center down in the corner. So if you're a true Master Set collector that needs to have all these, this is starting to get super expensive. $35.70 is where this was sitting in March of 2024. You're looking at about 57% growth over the past 6 months, which is very, very strong, sitting at $56.12 currently, which is just off of its 6-month high of $59.37. Again, another card that's just trending in the upward direction. Here's the Charizard EX Special Illustration Rare. For the most part, the singles, you are seeing some of them start to shift upwards, but they haven't been that bad. And part of that is just because there's been so much product that has been opened already, which does seem like there should be enough supply to meet demand when it comes to product, where you won't see these giant shifts and these giant swings unless there's manipulation or anything like that happening. But for the most part, they're relatively consistent. This Charizard EX right here was falling where it looked like it might hit sub 100 prices, but in April of 2024, it was sitting right around $103. You can see it sitting at $102.62. Now it's jumped up almost 7% over the the past 6 months. It's sitting at $121.67 currently, which is just off of its 6-month high of $130, but continuing to trend in the upward direction. Unless we see a massive reprint, I don't know if we're going to see this drop below $100. I just don't know if it's going to happen. Here's the Blastoise EX Special Illustration Rare. Very cool looking card, a chase card for a lot of people in the set. This one continues to climb as well. It was down to $40.95 in May of 2024. It did jump up quite a bit and then fall, but again, quantities starting to dwindle a little bit as far as demand goes when it comes to sales that you're seeing, but there also is less that are being listed on a daily basis, weekly basis as well. Sitting at $51.22, which is still about 15% growth over the past 6 months, just off of its 6-month high of $52.10. Here's the Venusaur EX, the other one of the big three when it comes to the special illustration rares. This one was sitting at $35.85. This one is seeing very consistent growth, much slower growth though, but again, the demand, the quantities staying relatively consistent over the past 6 months, not as much as what they were in the beginning. You can see March, April, May, a little bit more being sold on a weekly basis than over the last few months, but it did hit $45.20 in August there. Now it's backed off a little bit to $41.71, but you're still looking at about 5% growth over the past 6 months. The Charmander illustration rare is doing extremely well right now. It's up almost 27% over the last 6 months. In May of 2024, it had dropped down to $23.47. Now it's sitting at a 6-month high. It's jumped all the way up to $36.29. And again, quantities of sales still staying relatively consistent. It's about 27.11% growth. So it's sitting at a 6-month high right now. The Squirtle also moving up quite a bit in May of 2024. This one was down to $22.60. It's up almost 21.5% over the past 6 months, sitting at $31.72. That's a 6-month high. Again, sales, quantities, supply, demand, like it's all stayed very consistent over the past 6 months. The Bulbasaur also moving in the upward direction. This one's up almost 13% over the past 6 months. In May, it was sitting at $19.46, so just under $20. It trended all the way up to $26.12 in June, and now it's been relatively flat since then, so sitting at $25.49 currently. Here's the Pikachu illustration. This one also doing extremely well. It's up about 21.5% over the past 6 months. In May, this one did drop down to a 6-month low of $15.50, but it jumped up very quickly, and you can see in August of 2024 it was all the way up to $23.36. It did back off a little bit, but still sitting at $21.60 now, which is about 21.5% growth. And the last one we're going to look at, there's a lot of other ones that are doing really well, but for the most part singles are relatively flat, very consistent in the set, which is surprising because a lot of the other sets in the Scarlet and Violet block have fallen backwards a little bit, especially after the big bump that we had in April and May with a lot of stuff being bought out. But here's the Giovanni's Charisma. Part of this is being impacted because of Worlds. A lot of people thought, okay, well, I'm going to play Iron Thorns, I'm going to put Giovanni's Charisma in my deck, and the full art is cheap enough that I can afford that. In March of 2024, it was sitting at $4.44. It's up almost 46% over the past 6 months. Not quite at its 6-month high anymore of $7.10, but again, quantity of sales still staying relatively consistent, sitting at $6.49, about 46% above where it was 6 months ago. So very interesting to look at, and as soon as I get more information about reprints or restocks or anything like that, obviously, I will make sure to communicate that to you guys right away, so that way you can make the best decisions when it comes to spending your collection dollars. Scarlet and Violet 151 is great. I want to load up on a ton of sealed product right now. I think once we get more information about what's coming out in the holiday season, that's kind of the time where you can make the decision that's best for you. But as of right now, things are getting to a point where it's almost like I'm not going to crack Scarlet and Violet 151. If I can find some decent deals on it, okay, then I'll crack some. But for the most part, I'm just going to kind of let it do its thing and just focus on some other sets right now. But it continues to trend upwards, and I do think it's going to be a very, very strong set for a very long time. So I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a really long way for the algorithm. Like even just leaving a comment, just what's up Danny, or what's up Fanny, or your voice is funny, like any of those things is great. I really appreciate it. I love you guys. I'll talk to you again in a couple days. Until next time, peace.